Right, I'll show you how to change the brake chamber on this. This is on disc brakes.
What's
on a
up?
caliper. I'm talking to YouTube.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
I've been watching it.
Joe's here again. Look. Hello, Joe. Say hello, Joe.
Oh yeah.
Right, so I'll show you how to change this chamber here. First thing, take all your brakes off, so you've got no brakes on, so it's just like you're driving down the road. And then, righto, undo these bolts here. There'll be no pressure on it because your brakes are off. So yeah, keep the air pipes on, so the air pressure's keeping the pistons back. So there's no pressure on the caliper, so you can remove these two nuts here, and this will come back. So leave your park brake off, and all, make sure your air's built up. Right, now that's off like that. Joe boy, can you just put the park brake on?
Yeah.
Now we're going to put the park brake on so it'll dump all the air out of it, so you can undo these pipes then. Look, this piston will come out in a minute. You see that? Piston's come out now. Now there's no air in that chamber whatsoever now. So now I need to undo these pipes here. That one's not undoing because it's fucking seized, and I don't want to force it because they're only these shitty plastic connectors. So instead I've got this one out, so I'm gonna spin the chamber around instead. Look. Out with the old. I'll explain to you after this how the chamber actually fucking works, because not many people actually know how a chamber works. The new ones, look, they come already pre-wound off, look. You see that thread there? That's already pre-wound out. So you can fit it now because the piston's back here, the rod. Right, I'll get some cable ties and take the park brake off and then wind this in so it's fully wound off, so it's wound back in again, this thing here, so it's ready for rocking and rolling. I'm going to check fairly. Now I'm just going to check foot brake. Yeah, foot brake. Yeah, off. Beautiful, Joe. Right, I'll give you a quick basic lesson about brake chambers, because loads of people get confused and start winding the chamber off here to remove it and all kinds of business. Start disconnecting the parts, pissing out air everywhere, and there's no need for it. Right, I'll give you the quick simple thing of how a chamber works. Right, you've got, with the chamber, as it is now, the piston's out now, look, because there's a compressed spring in here. It's got loads of pressure in it. And that compressed spring in this half of it is pushing that rod out. So that's how it is now, with no air pressure to it whatsoever. So the rod's out, so your brakes are on. With no air pressure to it, your brakes are on. Right, when normal driving, when you take your handbrake off, air pressure comes down this port here and compresses the spring in and pushes that rod back. Yeah, so normal driving, you've got air pressure down one of these lines all the time when you're driving, when your park brake's off. Yeah, so as you're driving that rod will be in, there'll be air pressure in there pushing the spring back. Then when you press the foot on the brake, air pressure comes down here into this port here, and then it pushes that rod out like that. So when you put your foot on the brake, air pressure pushes down, fills up this reservoir in here, because there's a diaphragm, rubber diaphragm in here, like a bowl, like a rubber bowl, so it don't piss out air. So air pressure goes down here, pushes the rod out that way. So when you're changing a chamber, the simplest and most easiest way to do it, so you don't have to wind it all off and fuck around losing all air and that, is to have your brakes off, released. So your brakes are released, you can spin the wheel, yeah, then that rod's back. So then you can take these bolts out here, these nuts out here, because there's no pressure on the chamber at all, because the brakes are all off. So take your mounting bolts off, remove your chamber, then put your park brake on. It'll dump all the air out the chamber, there'll be no air in it. Then you can disconnect your pipes, put your new one on, job's a good one. So, and every chamber, well, every spring brake chamber is basically the same on lorries, trailers, whatever. If it's got a spring brake on it, it's got two reservoirs, one at the back, one at the front. The back one is the big powerful spring. Air pressure down it holds the spring back. The other one is foot brake. If it's a non-spring brake chamber, then you've only got this half of it. So all you've got is basically a push rod there and air pressure going in. So foot brake down, air pressure pushes the rod out. Brake released, it's off. Yes, that's basically how a spring brake chamber works. See you in a bit, guys.